For a long time, if you wanted a powerful night vision aiming device for about $250, there was only one real option: the Somogear PEQ. It carved out a niche in the budget night vision market, offering military-grade laser power at a fraction of the price. But let's be honest, it didn't exactly have a reputation for reliability. Well, the times are changing. Enter SMSlaser with the HFXC, a device that's here to challenge the Somogear PEQ's throne. Packed with features such as an integrated flashlight, an all-metal body, and a lower price point, the HFXC is aiming to shake up the game for budget-conscious buyers. But here's the big question: did they succeed? At least, we're going to try to answer that question. For both these units, we're going to be going over the usability, the performance, as well as the reliability for both, because either fortunately or unfortunately, I have now had problems with both these units and have had to contact the manufacturers to get a resolution. Without wasting any more time, let's get to the usability. So right off the bat, I could see why the Somogear may appear a little bit better than the HFXC. For starters, the Somogear is actually a direct clone of a product from L3Harris, also called the PEQ 15, or the ATPOL for the civilian version. A byproduct of copying L3Harris was that it got all the cool features from the real PEQ 15 on this unit. Stuff like having covers for the laser, so it's covered in case you accidentally engage it in the middle of the night. Also, the activation button is actually recessed into the body, so if something glides over the body on your rifle, it won't engage anything. And even down to the knob, it has a really definitive click whenever you engage each mode, and it's pretty easy to tell in the dark which mode you have. Even with those features though, it still is made out of plastic, just like the real thing. Going towards the HFXC, the body is all aluminum, which is a really nice feature if you plan on maybe disrespecting your rifle a little bit. And the mounting system is beefed up. It has two locking bolts with a locking lug in the center, whereas the Somogear just has some steel inserts in the plastic body. You can kind of tell that the HFXC is more of a first generation unit from SMSlaser. The knob is kind of vague. It doesn't really click into place with the certainty of the Somogear has. And the knob itself is a little too low. On the Somogears, the knob is a little more raised, so you can actually access it a little easier. Coincidentally, the fire button is actually raised too high compared to the Somogear. See how it actually raises off the body? Granted, the HFXC does have an off position, but I think with the button being so pronounced compared to the Somogear, it may be inadvertently pressed if you're handling your rifle around brushes or around other equipment. To sum it up, the Somogear may be a little easier to live with. L3Harris probably spent millions of dollars designing and testing this layout, and now that Somogear is using it, you get to reap the rewards. Whereas for the HFXC, it is an all new unit, an all new design, but it is all metal, with aluminum, so that's pretty cool for withstanding bumps and scrapes. And it has a flashlight, whereas the Somogear does not. So, both units have their upsides. For the Somogear, you get ease of use and some better laid out controls in my opinion. And on the HFXC, you get an all aluminum body and some great features that you can't get on the Somogear. For either one, you're definitely going to want to train. Get out to the range and actually learn how to use these devices, because you're going to want to be able to change the mode easily in the dark without fumbling around. Speaking of fumbling around in the dark, I think it's time to do some comparisons at night between these two devices. Let's get started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are outside at a football field actually, going to test out the new HFXC against the Somogear PEQ. Tonight is actually a waning crescent, so only about 2% illumination from the moon, but it is more of an urban environment. So there is some light pollution hitting off the clouds. You're gonna be seeing everything through the Psionics aura, so it's gonna be a lot brighter compared to what I can see. I can see stuff on the field, but I can't see anything in the trees. So this area is the football field, so about 100 yards. And then this tree line way out in the distance is about 125, so about 25 yards or so past the goalpost that you can see in the center. Without further ado, let's look at the lasers. On the left is the SMSlaser HFXC green laser, and on the right is, I got to turn on the right is the Somogear's red laser. So as you can see on low power, yeah, the HFXC's laser is definitely a lot brighter. Next up, on the left is the HFXC's IR laser on low, and on the right is the Somogear's laser on low, or it's IR laser. I am currently looking at it with a white phosphor, so there may be slight differences on the digital night vision that you can see, but at least from my point of view, it's about evenly matched. You can easily see both out to 125 yards, which shouldn't be a surprise. Now we are going to be looking at the IR illuminators on low. On the left is the HFXC, and on the right is the Somogear PEQ. I know the HFXC looks like a laser, and that is because, well, I don't know, the adjustment makes it to where it's almost to a laser point. The Somogear is at its brightest focus. I'm going to try to open up the focus on the HFXC to kind of match it. That's about right. So at this degree, or at this angle, both lasers can illuminate that tree line, so about 125 yards, no problem, and illuminate the goalpost. If you look a little bit closer, the HFXC's output seems a little more brighter in some areas, but the Somogear's seems more consistent, right? So that's kind of an interesting thing to note. But yeah, going out to that tree line, both can illuminate the tree line no problem. So now is the IR illumination on low, but on the max angle. On the left, the HFXC has a wider output compared to the Somogear. Going out to the tree line, yeah, the illumination is about the same for both. So the cool thing about the HFXC, of course, is you see a lot more at its max focus angle compared to the Somogear. The Somogear does have another version, I think it's called the NGAL, that has a wider output, or a wider output angle, but that's also $400, right? So that's double the price of both these units. And I mean, the HFXC has that ability, half the cost, right? So let's move on to the high power. And actually the fog kind of set in, so this may be a little cool. For the visible laser high mode, on the left is the HFXC, and on the right is the Somogear. And yeah, it's no contest, right? The HFXC is a laser beam, and hitting that fog, you can actually really see the intensity of that output. It's pretty cool. Maybe kind of unusable on your weapon, especially if you're on the, at the range with a lot of people wearing night vision, but I mean, it's pretty cool still. Now we are switching to the high power IR laser. On the left is the HFXC, and on the right is the Somogear. Once again, I'll have to look at the night vision setting, or the night vision footage from the digital camera, but looking through my analog tube with white phosphor, looks to be about the same intensity. It's definitely a lot brighter than the lower output. But yeah, kind of up close, yeah, definitely shooting IR laser beams. And then, going out to that 125 yards or so, definitely can see where you're pointing. Now let's move to the IR illumination. On the left is the HFXC's IR illuminator fully condensed, or max focus. And on the right is the Somogear's max focus. Just like the low power, the IR illuminator goes almost to a laser, so we will widen that up right now to kind of match the Somogear's. Yeah, right about there or so. And yeah, I mean, both of these, the output is crazy, right? Like it looks like a spotlight going out there. So that's pretty cool. To my eye, the HFXC's maybe looks a little more powerful, but I wouldn't call the Somogear's a weak illuminator at all, right? Now for the IR illuminators on high, but on the max focus angle. On the left is the HFXC, and on the right is the Somogear. And just like the low power, the Somogear's angle is, I don't know, probably half the size of the HFXC, and the HFXC has no problem at all illuminating at 125 yards, which is pretty cool, right? And now let's go a little bit closer. And yeah, everything is definitely bright, but you know, it's not splashing back into my night vision. You know, it's not causing any issues, so that's pretty cool. And just like low power, the Somogear maybe looks a little more consistent, and the HFXC kind of has high and low points, but it's nothing too noticeable, right? Like, you know, I'm still able to see the illumination fine. And now that the comparison between the Somogear and the HFXC is done, I wanted to test one last aspect of the HFXC, and that is, of course, the visible flashlight, since the Somogear does not have one. This is the HFXC's flashlight right now, and as you can see, I can see the tree line at 125 yards with relatively no issues. Somewhat dim, but nothing too bad. And then on the right, oops, on the right is my Streamlight HLX Pro. Yeah, which kind of has a more of a tighter beam, right? As you can see, I'm gonna put this down for a second. No problems at all seeing that tree line at 125 yards. I definitely prefer the Streamlight's pattern. We'll turn the Streamlight off. And yeah, I mean, this is definitely usable, you know, up to 125 yards. It turns out SMSlaser has been busy. They developed the HFXC into a great laser that exceeded my expectations and probably most of the community. It easily beats the Somogear at its own game while providing a flashlight, which is pretty cool for the price of right under 250 bucks. And although performance is great, it doesn't mean anything if the reliability is bad. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but both of these companies, SMSlaser and Somogear, have demonstrated that they have had issues in the past. And as far as I know, may still be having issues here and there. For the HFXC, my first unit actually came with a misaligned laser. You can see it in this footage. I didn't really think it was a big deal, but SMSlaser said it could affect zeroing, so they did send me a replacement. But my problems with the HFXC may not end there. I was testing the IP67 capability today, which, in case you didn't know, means that an electronic device can withstand going into the water at least a meter and being there for about 30 minutes. Even though it did finish the test still being usable, it definitely has water intrusion, as you can see. There was little droplets by the IR illuminator, and the glass for the flashlight is fogged up. Well, it turns out it got damaged after all. I did reach out to SMSlaser to see if they would fix it or not, and their response was, yeah, it's not absolutely waterproof. Water must have gotten in through the focus knob. What? I don't think they fully understand that water intrusion basically means that it didn't pass an IP67 test, since it failed when it was submerged for about 30 minutes in that shallow pool of water. And I've already spent days on this video. I'm going to release it today no matter what. And I'm not gonna wait for SMSlaser to unfuck themselves. I will say that the HFXC did pass all the water testing that I did with rain. It had no issues with water intrusion or failure to being usable, but full water submersion did take it out. So just be aware. We'll see if SMSlaser updates their website, or maybe I did actually get a defective unit. I'll let you know in the long-term test. As for the Somogear, it's a little more complicated. I've actually interacted with 2 of these devices so far, mine and a friend's. For my friend, his adjustment turret for the IR illuminator actually broke and sunk into the device, making it unusable. Luckily, Somogear did send him a replacement, so he's able to use the new one fine. Mine, it's a little more complicated. Why don't we take a quick trip to the range and I can show you. Really quick, I wanted to talk about the issue that I've been having with my Somogear. And the issue is with recoil, the crane plug will actually back out of the device and make it to where it'll just come out and basically not usable, right? It'll just slip out under recoil. We have about 15 rounds in the magazine. I'm just gonna start shooting into the berm, at the target. And really quick, you guys can see the crane plug, it'll start walking itself out. Range shot. All right, so as you can see the contactor, it's coming out, and the tape switch is no longer working. As you can see, it just slips out now. So yeah, and that was with the crane plug all the way in. It'll just walk itself out pretty easily. So yeah, and Somogear did deny that warranty claim. And to top it off, they showed me
the crane plug being a snug fit on a Somogear unit that wasn't even mine. Mine still has a red dot on it, and the video that they sent me through email doesn't have that red dot, so they weren't even showing my unit being tested. So very interesting, and that is why I don't trust Somogear.
In all, it is a little frustrating. Although the device is still usable, I can't use it with a tape switch anymore, unless maybe I tape the crane plug. I'm definitely going to keep this for testing with future devices, but at this point, I don't really trust Somogear since they rejected my warranty. Speaking of that warranty, the Somogear has one glaring issue that may make or break your decision on buying it. All across their website, it's abundantly clear that all of their devices are rated for airsoft use. And if you let the customer support know that you used it on a weapon, they will reject your warranty. While I was talking to customer support, I didn't mention anything about using a weapon, but there's really no way to show that the recoil is a problem without showing it on a weapon. There's a lot of speculation on why Somogear does this. Maybe they're trying to get around Chinese restrictions or something like that. But I think it just shows you that the customer support can be friendly and knowledgeable through email, but they can easily deny it if they think it was used on a rifle. Which brings me to my final thoughts. There's pros and cons to both devices, but let's get rid of them. There's only one thing that matters, at least in my opinion. The Somogear is rated for airsoft use, and the HFXC is rated for 7.62 by 39. Mount it up and get to training. If you do end up wanting to get the HFXC, you can use my discount code NICKY at SMSlaser's website for, I think, 5% off right now. Hopefully, it gets bigger. Thank you for your support and watching this far. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. I'm trying to build this channel into something bigger so I can do more reviews and comparisons on Chinese lasers and maybe other weapon stuff. Let me know down in the comments if you want me to take a look at something, and I'll give it my best try. I look forward to taking a look at more lasers and whatever SMSlaser has up their sleeves in the coming year in 2025. Until then, Godspeed. When you in the room, swear I just love the smell of it.